And today we are going to talk about love what you do. Is a career in clinical research for you? And I'm honored to welcome Lauren Belina Chang as one of our special guests today. Lauren and I work very closely together. We met when she was at the Mayo Clinic in Scottsdale, Arizona, working as a clinical research coordinator. She then became an instructor for our training programs, and now she is running our training programs all over the country. Lauren, welcome. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is, it's always fun for me, and I especially love this theme, love what you do. I've been in research in general since 2006, started more on the basic science side, and I bet a lot of you can identify. I was kind of in the rat lab, working with pipettes and petri dishes and just dying for some human contact, and fought my way out and into the clinical side. And so I've been here ever since. I absolutely love clinical research, could talk about it, I think, all night and all day. So I'm really excited for this topic today.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And by the way, my name is David Silberman. I am the co-founder and CEO of Clinical Research Fastrack. And a little bit about Clinical Research Fastrack. We're an organization that was created because of a desperate need in the industry to find trained talent. We're in a growing industry. And as this industry grows, we need more and more qualified people that work in the industry. But all of these research sites, from Atlanta, Georgia, to Scottsdale, Arizona, where we're headquartered, to San Francisco, where I am right now, I'm coming to you from my home in San Francisco. All of these research sites are struggling to find new people, because the fact of the matter is no one's born with experience in clinical research. Everybody will post a job ad saying we need someone with 2 years of experience, but in a growing industry, we need new people. And we're so busy running these trials, we don't have time to train them. So how does a new person get into the industry? And the answer wasn't that clear until about 5 years ago. And that's when we launched Clinical Research Fastrack. And Lauren, you've been here with us from the very beginning, and it's been really exciting. Do you want to share a little bit of information about maybe why you love being at Clinical Research Fastrack and what we've been doing these years?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, my passion is really in mentoring people who are passionate about this career path. I love research and what we do. I mean, we're always working in the future of medicine. We're working on what's to come next. You know, what we're working on, a patient can't just go to their doctor's office and get this treatment. They have to be on a trial to, you know, they have to be eligible for this study, but they also have to know about this study. These studies have to be run by really well-qualified people. And so in my role here, I really guide and mentor individuals to take their existing skill set and then upskill them with what they need to function in clinical research and function really, really well. And so to mentor them to get into this career path. And, you know, often the foot in the door is the hardest part, but once your foot is in the door, then we're kind of off to the races.
All right, and now it looks like we're being joined by Harvonia Perkins. Harvonia, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, there's a little bit of echo.
Oh, you know what? I think it might be because you have a phone and computer connection. Try it now.
Okay.
Uh-oh. Are you joined by phone and by computer? Uh-oh. Uh-oh, I think we lost her there for a moment.
Oh, how funny.
So Harvonia, let's start this way. All right. Are you joined by phone and by computer?
No, just by computer. But I think I might have more than window open.
All right, why don't you see if you can close one of those windows. And while you're working on that, Lauren and I are going to share a little bit more information about who we are at Clinical Research Fastrack, what we do, and we're really excited to bring on Harvonia, who is a site manager in clinical research and is going to share a really wonderful perspective. But just for all of you out there, we are a training organization. We're helping people enter the
Oh, it's
field.
not even logged into it.
We have graduates who are working in hospitals and research site networks around the country. They're working at pharmaceutical companies and contract research organizations. And we can talk a little bit about what these organizations do and who they are. But it's really exciting to be in this industry. And in fact, just yesterday, we were having a conversation in our office about 5 students who were recently hired in the field. They took our program. They had wanted to get into clinical research, but they couldn't on their own because they didn't have the proper qualifications. You can't work in this field without the right training and qualifications. It's actually an FDA regulation. But after taking our program, they went back home. One's in Chicago, one's in Scottsdale, Arizona, another's in Raleigh, North Carolina, another's in Atlanta, Georgia. And wow, we have students from all over the country who are able to enter our program in just a few short weeks, get the training and skills and qualifications they need to work in the field. So I am so honored to be able to have this discussion today with Harvonia Perkins. Harvonia, did you get your echoing? Is that taken care of, or? Oh, it's so taken care of, we can't hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Hold on, try again. Can we hear you?
Can you hear me now?
Oh my God, it's perfect. We have
Yay.
it. Yes, this is fantastic. So Harvonia, thanks for joining us. Can you real briefly tell us who you are and what you do? You're a clinical research site director at BFHC. What's BFHC?
It's Bandera Family Healthcare Research. We are actually a site located in a doctor's office, Dr. Ramon Reyes. He's both a family practice physician and also a principal investigator.
Excellent. That's fantastic. And as a site director, what are you doing there? Are you running a lot of clinical trials?
We are. We have 5 studies that are currently enrolling. We have 2 that are kind of maintenance phase and 1 that's going toward closeout. So my job is directing, deciding what studies we're going to accept at our site, whether it's possible for us to do that. I actually completed what's called a feasibility report this morning on a study that looks like it would be good for us to accept. And then I also balance the work with my coordinators on assigning who's going to get the new study and how we balance the work to make sure that we are meeting the requirements by the sponsor.
Excellent. Oh my God, you just brought up so much terminology that I bet many of the people in our audience don't even totally understand. So we're going to take a step back and we're going to talk about first, what is clinical research? Lauren, can you jump in real quick? What are we talking about? She's working on clinical studies. They're doing a feasibility. They're going to bring more trials on. What are we talking about? What is clinical research?
Yeah, as I alluded to earlier, this is testing new medications, devices, and therapies that are not yet FDA approved. So really incredibly exciting. I mean, if you think of diseases that plague us, Alzheimer's, cancer, we are testing new medications, devices, and therapies to help come up with better treatments. And hopefully the ultimate goal is a cure. I mean, so if we think of diseases like hepatitis C, where not that long ago, that was a death sentence for someone to be diagnosed with hepatitis C, not, will this kill you? When will this kill you, right? Now, through clinical trials, we have found effective medications that are safe and work for people to actually cure these diseases. So that's what Harvonia is doing day in and day out. She's facilitating these trials. She says she has 5 active ones that's testing new, who knows if it's medications, devices, therapies, in these patients who, maybe there's not a good enough answer for. She has a couple in maintenance, meaning they're just sort of maintaining, exactly what that sounds like. And then that feasibility, they're trying to see, hey, there's some upcoming trials. Will this work at our site? Is it a good fit for the patient population we have present here? So it's really exciting to just work on the forefront like that. Like Harvonia is actually in the future right now.
Oh my gosh, that is wild. So Lauren, you mentioned hepatitis C. So 5 years ago, for everyone, or 6 years ago, there was no treatment to hepatitis C. It was a death sentence. Once you had that disease, you were going to live with it chronically and then eventually die from it. And then in 2014, October 2014, we had our first approved hepatitis C treatment, and now we have several others. But Harvonia, you are working in the future of medicine. You're in San Antonio, correct?
Yes, San Antonio, Texas, yes.
And you are in the future. And what exactly makes it so exciting for you to work in clinical research? Why don't you tell us why you love it so much?
Well, I love it because, let me tell you this simple thing. When a person in a family has a condition that is not, it affects the whole family. Everyone is kind of, all of the resources of that family and everything is directed toward that unstable person. If you can bring that person to some stability, that doesn't just free the person, it frees the entire family to actually be able to live. One thing that I don't think I've shared with either one of you, growing up, my mom was in a clinical trial, and she was on the clinical trial with the medication risperidol, which was it was revolutionary for my family because my mom was unstable, and that's stability kind of freed up all of us to not have all of our attention be on, taking care of her day-to-day needs.
She was in a trial and the medication helped her?
It helped her.
Oh
yes.
my gosh.
Nothing out there previously had any effect on her. Mm-hmm.
So you have a personal connection to this. You're not only in this to help others, but you have seen how it helped your family directly.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
That is fascinating. Now, Lauren, I know many of the people we work with have that personal connection. Do you have a strong, personal connection to the field? Why is it so exciting to you, Lauren?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even back from before I decided what to study in college, I've been always really passionate about mental health. And I think that's an area of medicine that's been neglected for years. We don't quite know. It doesn't manifest itself physically like other types of diseases do, where you can, measure someone's mood per se. I mean, you can, but you can't, right? There's no biological molecule that we can point to, really. We don't even understand how the approved medications that are approved today really work. And so my connection to this is I've just always been so passionate about mental health, about helping those who, like Harvonia said, these diseases don't just affect the person themselves, it affects the entire family. And it affects so many people around that person. And so if we can help those individuals by finding better treatments, that's incredible. That's where my heart lies. So it always kind of warms my heart when we have a student go into the CNS world to work on these.
Yeah, so we have this passion, Harvonia, you talked about your mom being treated through a trial. Lauren, you talked about mental illness and how we can move that forward. My mom passed away from Alzheimer's, and it was really devastating to our whole family. Like you said, Harvonia, it wasn't just my mom, it was our whole family. But we also love this industry, not just because of who we're helping in advancing medicine, but also what we're doing. Can you tell us what you're doing at the site level? You work in a family practice medical center, is that right, Harvonia? Tell us more about it.
Yes, I work in a family practice center. So Dr. Reyes, he just accepts trials that he believes will benefit our patient population. So a lot of the ones that we do center around diabetes, cardiovascular disease. We do have the ones that are what I talk about, the easy symptomatic diseases like nighttime urination. And talking about stability, when a person is in a trial on a drug where they're getting up to go to the bathroom 6, 7, 8 times a night, and they're sleeping through the night, the quality of life that they have being in that trial and having that need met, they are very appreciative. And so to see the quality of life, not just on the large scale with the populations, but on the individual basis of the people in the trials, that's really exciting.
So you're working every day with family members, with people who are entering these trials and potentially finding new cures for them. That is exciting, right?
Oh, yes, it is. It is.
But now you work at a smaller facility. Now, Lauren, you actually come from the Mayo Clinic and also UNC Medical Center where you were doing research. These are larger institutions. Can you explain maybe the difference between working at a site, which is smaller, more personal, and then where you were working?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a little, you know, we could, if we, Harvonia and I could have run the very same trials, but execution in those two settings might just look a little different. So if you're someone who likes to kind of wear all the hats, as we say, because there's a lot that goes into running a trial. In addition to running the protocol, meaning you're collecting data, you might be entering that data into the electronic systems, you might be doing a blood draw, you might be maintaining all of your regulatory documents when the FDA is coming in. At these bigger institutions, a lot of times, not rule of thumb across the board, but a lot of times in my experience, these functions are sort of parsed out into individual departments. So I bet Harvonia's hat rack is falling over, where in my experience, a lot of the times, I had different departments that I was depending on to do a lot of those functions for me. So just a little bit different.
Yeah. So, wow, I'm seeing a lot of questions actually coming in. So if you do have questions, there's a little Q&A section in our webinar functionality. So go ahead into the Q&A and write your question down, and we'll make sure to get to all of them along the way. And one of the questions someone chatted was, you know, are we collecting data and information in these trials? What is the actual work? And there is a lot of documentation. Harvonia, aren't you documenting everything you're doing with these patients?
Yes, so the data that we're collecting, you know, you collect the initial data that you collect is on the patient themselves. You collect their patient history, the medications that they're currently taking, whatever surgeries or procedures that they've had done in their history. And then during the trial, you're collecting information like their blood pressures, blood work, if they're having any symptoms that might possibly be because of the medication. And we record all the symptoms, and then the investigator decides whether he thinks it's because of the medication or it might be because of their history. So all of those things, all of that documentation is so important, because all the information that we collect become part of that package insert that you get at the pharmacy with all of your medications. Those are all the symptoms that were experienced by someone who was in a clinical trial.
Wow, so you're collecting that information that becomes the package insert for these medications when they get approved. And it's really interesting. We had another question, Lauren, that was about, wow, you know, Harvonia is working at the site level with these patients. What about people who work from home? There's a lot of people who are monitoring trials or who are working with data. Can you explain some of those roles in clinical research where people actually have remote positions?
Sure, yeah. We're seeing that, of course, more and more today. I mean, it's just a function of the time that we live in.
You're in your house right now and I'm in mine.
Right now, yeah, exactly. But a lot of times, individuals getting into this field do tend to start at the site level. At the site level, you do typically have to be there. That's where the patients are, right? They're not coming to your home. So you got to be on site. But a lot of times people will evolve from the site level to other positions that don't involve that patient contact or participant contact. And so we see a lot of people in the field become clinical research associates. So these are called remote positions. They're working from home, or they're traveling around to the various sites to monitor all that data that Harvonia was referencing earlier. She's collecting all of that data. So this person's kind of coming in to do a quality check, right? I mean, again, we're collecting information on live people in these trials. So we got to make sure we're getting it all right. So these CRAs, they travel around or they're working from home. Data management positions are typically remote these days. And then what's really cool are their positions in regulatory. And that used to be, we used to have so many binders and we print out all of these papers and maintain these binders. And a lot of places are now switching to e-regulatory. So as we see the shift there, I think we're going to see even more remote positions in the regulatory realm.
Wow, I mean, it's so exciting. We have remote positions, we have these on-site positions. We're moving more and more into this e-space, electronic medical records, electronic source documentation. That's really exciting. I'm getting all these questions and I wanted to try to address these questions. Someone asked, do I have to have an MD or a PhD to work in clinical research? Well, Harvonia, do you have an MD or a PhD? You're the site director there. What is your background, by the way?
I have a bachelor's of science in biochemistry. Many people in the research field have science degrees or some kind of medical degree, nurses. I ran into an investigator meeting someone who was a real estate agent. So they were a real estate agent. They worked for a doctor's office as the receptionist and then got swept into the research world. So there's so many different pathways, but you do have to have an understanding of scientific terms. You do have to have an understanding of medical terms. And so if you're very detail oriented and you search for answers to the questions that you have, you'll be great in clinical research.
Yeah, and we can share so many stories with you, Harvonia. We have students who come through our program, and one of them had a marketing degree, and next thing you know, she's working at a site, and now she's running the site. Another one was in real estate, like a different woman than I'm sure you met. Now she's at Winship Cancer Center at Emory University running cancer trials. We've had students with psychology backgrounds, but then we get a lot of foreign medical doctors. And this is a great field for people who do have a medical background too. Do you have to have one? No, but these foreign medical doctors, they come from places like this one person, they said, I'm from Pakistan. We have had so many students from Pakistan with medical degrees, but they can't practice medicine in the United States. And even those that try, they take these step exams, they're trying to get into residencies, they're unable to match, they have this medical knowledge. What can they do? They can go into clinical research, and they're very successful with that medical background. We have a lot of nurses who go through our program as well. We had a question from a nurse saying, wow, bedside nursing is getting tougher and tougher. And maybe when you're young, it's great, but as you get older, if you've been nursing for a while, it can be backbreaking work, and you're not always being treated with the respect and dignity that you deserve. In clinical research, it's much easier on the body. Sure, you see patients now and then, but it's not going to be so taxing on the body. Wow, we have more and more questions coming in. We answered the one from the nurse. Here's one about a clinical research associate role. Do you have monitors or clinical research associates coming to your site, Harvonia? What do they do?
Oh yeah, we have, we call them CRAs. They come in about 6 to 8 weeks. It depends, you know, each company has different SOPs on how often they send the monitor, but they come and they review the data that we collect. Lauren had mentioned that we enter it into an electronic data system. They check our paper charts and make sure that the information that we entered into the system matches what's in our chart. They also kind of check out our site to make sure that we are following the protocol that has been established for that study, and that we're following regulations as well. So it's almost having like a mini audit every time they come.
Okay, that's a great. Thanks for sharing that. So that's what the monitors, clinical research associates are doing. Now we're getting question after question. I want to work in clinical research. I've interviewed. I'm just curious, show of hands for all of you. Raise your hand if you've tried or applied to a role in clinical research and you haven't got it. Let's see how many of you. Oh my gosh, look at all these hands going up. Lauren, are you watching this? We have so many people who have tried to get in the field and they can't. And that is very typical because you need to have the proper qualifications, training, and experience. And that's why we developed our training course. Lauren, can you share with everyone how in just 4 weeks you can go through our course and the same people that couldn't get hired are now working in the field? Can you share how that works?
Yeah, I mean, it's really intensive. And, you know, instead of thinking of it as just 4 weeks, it's really an intensive model. It's about 228 hours of training through a blended learning model. Some of it is online and self-paced. That's great because in today's world, you're going to have to work online. You're going to have to be accountable to yourself for deadlines. You're going to have to be self-disciplined. So that's a great way to learn stuff, but also give us an indication of how you're going to function in the field. Then we move into the classroom where we have instructors like Harvonia. When we run class in Austin, Harvonia actually comes into our classroom. So we have instructors who work in the real world of clinical research. People like Harvonia who are site managers. We have other CRCs, CRAs, project managers, people who specialize in business development at sites, at CROs, at sponsors. You really get a wide range of exposure to what the field has to offer. This allows you, when you move into that first position in the field, to function really well. because you understand everyone else's function. You also have the skills to excel where you are. And the last piece of the puzzle, and where I bet a lot of you who have your hands raised get hung up, is they ask you, what's your experience? And if you've never been at a site, it's really difficult to speak to what it's like to run a research trial. So in our classroom, we're really hands-on. We're practice, 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 as many things as possible. And then our students move into the internship. And I know Harvanya has actually hosted interns in the past as well, which is very cool and very exciting. But these students go in to the site and are actually able to learn and shadow and experience what it's like when these trials are running in real time. So for those of you who want to go work at the site level, of course, it's great exposure. For those of you who have your sites elsewhere on, say, data management or regulatory or QA, QC, it's still really great exposure, because the site level is where the rubber meets the road. That's where the protocol's executed. It's where the data's collected. Without the site, without the CRCs at the site, we don't have anything in this whole industry. So that's why our internship is at that site level right there.
Yeah, and these internships are happening right in most of your hometowns. So we have internships that we partner with in San Antonio, where Harvanya is, in Dallas, where we're going to be next week, in Atlanta, where Lauren is, in Scottsdale, all over the country. If you're in a metropolitan area, we have an internship site near you. Someone said, oh, when are you going to bring the class to my hometown? The classroom portion of our program is only 8 days. Now remember, this is a field where you're traveling to investigator meetings. Some people are traveling as CRAs. You can take 8 days, come to our classroom location, and our next class is coming up. Well, Dallas is Saturday, that's probably too soon. And then we're gonna be in Atlanta. Take 8 days off of work. It's actually from Saturday to Saturday. You only need 1 week off of work. And in those 8 days, we will prepare you, train you, get you ready to work in the field. Yes, if you have a mathematics background, you can be in clinical research. If you have a BS in biology, you can work in clinical research, but you will need to come for 8 days to one of our training locations. And I'm gonna share my screen with you all now. And I'm gonna skip ahead to our phone number. Wow, the time has flown. We are going to be coming up to Atlanta next, but if you can't make Atlanta, you know, we are going to be in a few other cities as well coming up. We're going to be in Chicago, we're going to be in Scottsdale, we're going to be in Austin, Texas. Harvanya, you're teaching for us, is that right? When we come to Austin?
Yes, I'll drive up to Austin. I enjoy teaching for your classes.
Oh my gosh, that is wonderful. And it'll be so nice to have you. And we're almost out of time. Can you believe it, Harvanya? A half hour has flown by.
It's flown by.
Just scratched the surface of this industry. But really what we've talked about is this is a career that we love, that we're passionate about. We're helping others. And we've all had family members in our life that have experienced devastating illnesses. And a clinical trial could be that therapy treatment that helps them, and not only helps them, but helps so many others. And we are thrilled to be a part of this industry. We love what we do. Harvanya, I'm sure, and you do too, right? You love it?
I love it. Been here 12 years. I love it.
Oh my gosh, Lauren, you love what you do?
I love it. Can't imagine myself going anywhere else.
All right, well, I love what we do as well. And what Lauren and I and Harvanya all get to do is not only be part of clinical research, but we get to train people like you. And in just a few short weeks, we can help prepare you. We will prep you for your interviews. We're gonna introduce you to experts in the field, and we provide the training and the qualifications necessary so our students are graduating and getting hired within weeks of taking our class. It's a thrill to be part of an industry that we love so much. Harvanya, thank you so much for your time today. It flew by, but we're at the end of our time. If any of you have questions that weren't answered, please email us, give us a call. Our number's right here on the screen. Just call 602-883-7944. And if you're during business hours, we'll get you in touch with one of our advisors to help you out. So Harvanya, thank you again for joining us. It's such a pleasure to see you. We can't wait to work with you when you're in Austin with us.
All right.
Lauren, all the way from Atlanta, Georgia, thank you for all you do and leading our programs. And once again, my name's David Silberman. I am the CEO of Clinical Research Fastrack, and thank you all for joining us today. And we look forward to hearing from you in the future.